Hi, it's Dean Allen, the Wizard of Reading, Dean Allen, the Magician, and I thought I would share with you one of the routines that I perform in my Dr. Seuss shows. Now, this isn't one of the current routines, but it'll give you an example of the way I take stories and use magic to illustrate them. The book that I'm going to be using is called The Bipolo Seed and Other Lost Stories of Dr. Seuss. This book came out about 2011, I believe it came out, and it's filled with stories that Dr. Seuss wrote but never made it into book form. They appeared in magazines but never got transferred to books. Some of the stories he borrowed from and used in other stories, and one story in particular he gave to his wife. Now I want to share that story with you right now. It's a story that's called Gustav the Goldfish. And the way that I present the routine, I tell them a little bit about the story, just as I did with you, and then I read a little bit from the book. So it goes like this. The man who sold Gustav the Goldfish had warned us, take care. Just feed him a spot. If you feed him a lot, then something might happen, and it's hard to say what. That's what the man said, so we tried to take care just to feed him a pinch, but it never seemed fair, because he always looked sad when he gulped down the stuff, and his eyes seemed to tell us this isn't enough. You see, Gus had to have food, not a spot, but a lot. So no matter what happened, we didn't care what. Finally one day, the fish looked so thin, we took the whole box and we dumped it all in. And that's how the story of Gustav the Goldfish begins. And it's from that point that I bring a child up from the audience and we illustrate the story using magic. And what I have is a little bag here, and inside the bag I have a little handkerchief. And that handkerchief has a picture of Gustav the Goldfish on it. There's Gustav right there. And what the child does is place the goldfish back inside the bag after having shown it empty, part of the magic part. There we go. And then I also, let me get the goldfish, get in there goldfish. I also have over here a goldfish food container, which has, of course, no food because we're just using our imaginations. And I have the child reach inside and take out just a pinch of goldfish food and drop it into the bag. We wait a couple seconds, and when he reaches inside, the goldfish is exactly the same, just as it is in the story. So I have him do it again. He puts a little bit of goldfish food in there, reaches inside, nothing happens. And then I tell him, well, what happened in the story? And he says, he poured all of it in. That's right. So then the child takes the little goldfish food container, pours all of it in there, and that's where things get really interesting. Because this time, when he reaches inside, or she reaches inside the bag, they find that the goldfish has gotten larger. And this is what happens in the story. The goldfish gets larger. And I tell the child, but don't worry, we can fix it because this is also a magic show, so no big deal. We take the goldfish, we place him inside the bag. I give the child a magic wand, waves it over the bag, and this time when we reach inside, to our surprise, the goldfish has gotten even bigger, just like in the story, exactly like in the story. And I say, oh no, this is terrible. Maybe we need a bigger magic wand. So we get a bigger magic wand, place the goldfish back inside. The child waves the magic wand over the bag, reaches inside yet again, and this time, again to everyone's surprise, the goldfish is even larger. And then I tell the child, you know what, this is exactly what happened in the story. And it was at this point that the kid in the story said, you know, I have to do something, I don't know what to do. Maybe if I call the man from the pet store. That's what I'll do. He calls the man from the pet store. The man from the pet store comes over and looks at the child and says, did you feed the goldfish all the food? And the kid, of course, says yes. And now the book doesn't say exactly what the man from the pet store did, but I have a good idea. If we use a little magic and a tiny magic wand, because we want the goldfish to be tiny, maybe it'll work. And I give the child a magic wand that's about this big, and they wave it over the bag, reach inside, and then to everyone's amazement and joy, Gustav has returned to his original size. And that's my routine for Gustav the Goldfish. And then once the routine is over, I ask the audience, I say, now how many people have heard that story before? And usually I get teachers that raise their hands, but they have a questionable look on their face because they know the story, but they never heard it called Gustav the Goldfish. And that's when I tell them the rest of the story, which is this. Dr. Seuss's wife, her name was Helen Palmer, and she asked Dr. Seuss, are you going to put that into a book, your story, Gustav the Goldfish? And he said, well, I don't have any plans on it. And she said, can I have it? And he said, my dear, why certainly, or something to that manner. And she took the story, changed the illustrations a little bit, and she put it out as a story called A Fish Out of Water, which has become a very, very popular book. And A Fish Out of Water by Helen Palmer began as Gustav the Goldfish by Dr. Seuss. And that's an example of the way that I take Dr. Seuss stories, use magic to illustrate them, and then also give the audience a bunch of the trivia facts surrounding the story as well. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you're going to schedule my new show this year, which is called the Seuss-tacular Reading Show. And it's going to be a great one. Lots of new stories and lots of new magic in the show this year. So you can go to wizardofreading.com to find out more about the show. Or if you're looking for a preschool version of the show, which I also have, that version of the show is called the Seuss-tacular Magic Show. You can go to deanallenmagic.com and find out more about that. Okay, thanks so much. My name is Dean Allen. I am the Wizard of Reading, and I look forward to seeing you this year with the Seuss-tacular Reading Show.